Just a second. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast. In today's podcast, we're going to be going over Week 17 schedule and discussing the teams who made a deal at the deadline and checking in on their players, see how things are looking. Dan, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Happy to be with you. Sad news is the weekend is just about over. I think people listening to this will probably be already slumped over at their desk, furious at work. But the good news is, Mark, this week is a fantastic week of basketball. I think as we were discussing pre-show, every day this week has at least six NBA games, which is fantastic. So looking for a really good a week of NBA action.
Yeah, no doubt. And to start us off, we had quite a performance on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, I guess. Anthony Davis. Do you want to tell the folks what Anthony Davis did? I'm sure they already know, but
I mean, he had 59 points, Mark, and 20 rebounds. That sounds pretty good, right?
I think I saw that this was in the daily fantasy sports era. This was the second best game of all time. Is that true? You would probably know better than I would.
In terms of
in terms of, I think how many FanDuel points were scored. I think this was the second best game. I think LeBron had one better game.
He had 89 FanDuel points.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
59 points, 20 rebounds, 2 3-pointers, 4 assists, 1 block. I think it's turnovers count in daily, don't they?
Yeah. On FanDuel you lose 1 point. On DraftKings you lose 0.5 points.
He only had 2 turnovers, I think.
Yep, 2 turnovers. I mean, the sad thing is he had no steals and only 1 block. So if he would have, I know.
Oh my goodness.
I know I'm nitpicking, but no, I mean, I was rooting for him to get 100 FanDuel points. So that would have been the way for him to reach that criteria.
Your dog is angry that you're talking about how Anthony Davis could have played better after he just scored almost 60 points.
If you've played DFS this year, and my dog has as well, you're really not an Anthony Davis fan. Because, I mean, now he's looked great the last few weeks, I'd say, even maybe going on maybe almost a month now. But earlier in the year, man, he especially when he started off the season, he was playing really bad. He would go down with these really bizarre, soft, fragile injuries. So he's not really loved in the DFS community. I'm not sure even in like season long how truly loved he is. He's kind of been underperforming this year. But lately, man, he has turned it on. So he's and remember, he's still only like 23 years old, I think.
22. I
mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
this actually projects to be his best season as far as missing games, which is kind of crazy.
That is crazy because it seems like he's been out. Like it seems like, especially before the All-Star break, at least 1 game a week he'd miss because of some weird crazy injury. He either got a groin, or he got a headache, or he had a stomach ache, or he had cramps, or he had a toenail. He got an eyelash injury. He's had some weird injuries, man.
I don't even know where to go with the eyelash injury.
The only reason I say that is because last year, no joke, I played Nerlens Noel one night in DFS, and I swear to God, he got injured and didn't come back into a game in the first quarter, quote unquote, due to an eyelash. That's what it said. That's what the beat reporters were putting out there on Twitter, or the beat writers. So, if it happened to Nerlens Noel, another guy's pretty soft actually. It could easily happen to Anthony Davis.
All right, Dan, we just got through the kind of the funky All-Star break schedule for fantasy, where you're either playing 2 short weeks or 1 kind of elongated week where you've got 4 or 5 games for each player. Now we're back into the regular grind where we're looking at 3 or 4 games each for a team. Some leagues playoffs start this week. I think you play in a league like that. Is that right?
That is very true. Yeah, I mean it's shocking how quickly it came upon us. But yeah, round 1 of my playoffs in 1 league starts tomorrow.
So pay attention. I mean, make sure that your playoffs haven't started. If you're not sure when your playoffs are, go check that out. Some leagues have 1 or 2 weeks left. Some leagues start this week. But as you mentioned, it really is a very nice, steady week for fantasy. Every team plays 3 or 4 games this week. There are no 2-game teams. There are no 5-game teams. And the games are pretty as even as they're going to get. There's a bunch of Thursday games, which makes and a bunch of Thursday and a bunch of Sunday games, which even out the schedule. And as far as back-to-backs, there's even a limited number of those. There's no Monday, Tuesday back-to-back games.
That should make you happy on your quest, for all players to rest and never play, back-to-backs. You should be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. No real opportunity to take advantage of the schedule early in the week, by picking up a guy on a back-to-back or something like that. There are a couple of back-to-backs on Tuesday, Wednesday. Boston, Minnesota, and Miami both play Tuesday and Wednesday night. So potentially look to pick up some guys off of there. But really as even of a slate as you're going to get all season, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I totally do. And also just going off of that, Orlando is the only team that plays a Thursday, Friday back-to-back. So if you're already looking ahead to next weekend. But yeah, I mean, this is probably the best week to play DFS because anything for me above a 10-game slate, that's just too many games. The variance is just too great. So every day this week, you have less than 10 games, like basically between like 6 and 10 games. It's just a glorious week for DFS as well. And for season long too. I mean, every day you're going to have great streaming options when you have this many games in play.
Did you play Anthony Davis anywhere?
No, I mean, so I never really play like quote unquote early slates. I really only play the main slates every day. And Anthony Davis, they had an earlier game today, so the main slate only included the games that started at 6 p.m. Eastern and after. So I did not play Anthony Davis, but I had a lot of friends who did.
I would imagine that you almost didn't need to play anybody else as long as you had him.
No, see that's the thing. He was probably the top.
Well owned.
Yeah, he was the top player of the on the board that he wanted to own today. So I think his ownership was really high across the industry. So obviously, if you didn't have him, you were completely screwed. But even if you had him, you still, he was like 50, over half the field had him. So you still had a lot of work to do.
All right. Anything else we need to? We usually dive deeper into the schedule, but I feel like it's such a standard schedule this week. I don't know. There's a lot more analysis for us to give. Is there anything else you want to say about the schedule here? Anything you think our listeners?
I mean, the only thing that I thought was actually interesting was that Golden State's the only team that plays all 4 games on the road.
Interesting.
Now, I don't think that really impacts anything fantasy-wise. I just think that's interesting.
I mean, the fact that they have 4 games on the road or 4 games for the week is pretty appealing.
Yeah, and like quite honestly, I don't know where you stand on this, but I'm rooting against Golden State.
Yeah, because you're a Bulls fan.
Correct. I want them to lose every game. Like I was furious last night that they beat the Clippers. I just want them to start losing.
I think if you don't, I mean, that's kind of a weird approach. Even Jordan's rooting for him to
Oh,
break
come on. You really think
what he said? That's what he said.
What's he gonna say, dude? I hope you guys get crushed.
Yeah, I feel like Jordan said worse things than that.
Oh, come on.
This is the same guy who invited the guy who. So Jordan at his Hall of Fame speech invited the guy who made the varsity team over Jordan to the speech and like called him out.
I know.
So I'm pretty sure Jordan's comfortable saying he doesn't want the Warriors to break his streak if he's willing to invite some no-name guy to his Hall of Fame speech and call him out for thinking he was better than Jordan at some point of his life.
Disagree. Now that he's an owner, he's probably publicly trying to
He was an owner then when he did his Hall of Fame speech. I'm
don't let the facts get in the way of my my good rationale, Mark. Now that he's an owner, I think just publicly he knows he thinks it's good for the league that Golden State is going for the record. But come on, there's no way the most competitive person in the history of civilization wants his record to be beaten by this crappy, silly little bunch of midgets Golden State team. I can't stand them. Like I really do hate them.
You must hate basketball.
No,
that's my only conclusion I can make.
No, I love basketball. I'm really envious of Steph. I'm really jealous of him. Clay, I don't like because Clay cheated.
What do you mean you're jealous of him? Like
he has like the perfect. I mean, look at his life.
Like you're jealous of him in that you wish you could be him, or you wish he was on your team.
No. Just in every way. No, of his life in general.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Who's got like? I'm trying to think like, out of athletes. If you could be like any athlete right now for like let's say like a day or a week, he's got to be up there, right? I mean, he's basically he's like a phenomenon right now. Right now.
Yeah.
So, but no, but in all seriousness, I'm not. I am rooting against them, but I don't hate them. But I do not want them to break the record, and I do think they're getting a little too cocky. I think Clay's getting a little too cocky. Draymond Green, he's always been cocky, but whatever.
See, that's part of the charm there. I'm on the opposite end. I always root almost for every record to be broken that there is. Like I think that's fun when a record gets broken. So even if it's somebody that I like who sets the record, I think it's fun when it gets broken.
All right.
Anyway, let's talk about some of these players that got traded. Let's take a look at how they've been performing for the last. Some teams have played 2 games since the trade deadline. Some have played 1. We'll dig into the teams and see if there's anything we can share with the listeners about the players that were moved or the players that are on a new team or the players that were left, the leftovers from the moves that were made. But first, Daniel, we need to share a word from our new sponsor, SeatGeek. Daniel, last show we talked about SeatGeek for a while, and I gave you a bunch of good reasons to go try SeatGeek. I want to know, do you ever get a chance to log on and purchase some tickets?
I did indeed, my friend.
Yeah,
I bought tickets to the Miami Knicks game. I think it's next week. I think it's this coming Sunday. So I'm stoked. I got fantastic seats. I think as we discussed last show, it like tells you how good the seats are on the site. It gives you
was that as easy as advertised?
Yeah, man. It gives you like a nice color coded scheme to let you know how good the seats are. The site's really user friendly, which for me, we both know I'm not the best person using computers. I basically have the
truth is, if Daniel could figure out how to go on there and buy tickets, that means it's as like. I think that says more than if my 5-year-old could get on and buy tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that's probably not true, but
it's probably true.
Yeah, it probably is. So it's like really user friendly. Found tickets really fast, and also the other a couple things with it is that it gives you like an option to get emails, and it will email you when there's like a reduction in prices. And you can do things like that, which I thought was really helpful. So like going forward when I use the site, also, Mark, this I found beautiful. Like
you're so excited you can't even.
Well, I did because you know who's coming to New York like
who's
in
that?
months? Justin Bieber.
Oh my goodness!
So you know who's going to need tickets to this bad boy? That's right. So I'm on SeatGeek. I'm on
email alert set up.
Email alerts ready to go whenever. The problem is I don't think Bieber prices are going to drop. But who knows? You never know. So I'm definitely got to buy me some Bieber tickets. That's going to be the show of the year. So I think we should do like a daily fantasy basketball podcast. Get like rent like a bus or something.
You should see if they'll credential you.
And we should all go to that. Oh, that would be a dream come true. But I mean, you should come down to New York and come to the concert with me. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can't think of a better reason to come.
But so I'm telling you, like it really, the site really is great. Big fan.
And the last part, I hope that you did, Dan, when you logged on and you bought tickets for the first time, I hope you used the promo code MARC, MARC, because if you did, then you'll get $20 off. You'll get a $20 rebate to use on your Justin Bieber tickets.
And you know what sucked is I put my own name. I put Dan.
that sounds like something you would do.
Yeah, and I got nothing. So now, for the Bieber tickets, I'm definitely going to put Mark, as in Marc Gasol, MARC. So I get my $20 for sure.
I got like this visual image of you just pushing in your name and pushing promo code, and it's saying no promo code active, and you refusing to put in my name.
Yeah, that's basically how it went down. I was like, I can't do it. I mean, if it was like your father, the grass farmer, I would have put his name in there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I can't give Mark this victory by putting in his name.
That's perfect.
But hey, $20 is $20. So next time I am doing it, my friend.
All right. Everybody listening, hopefully you go check out SeatGeek. If you do, please use that promo code, and you will also get a $20 rebate. All right, Dan, let's jump right into this and talk about some of the teams that made a move. I wanted to start with Orlando.
Well, I think one thing before we get into that, I don't even think it's fantasy relevant. I just want to get your quick views on it. Anderson Varejao is signing with the Warriors. And I guess Cleveland is going like crazy. Like their fans are like fuming and furious. And how dare Varejao, could sign with Golden State? How could he he's like a traitor? I think this is ridiculous. But I guess it kind of like plays into the psyche of like Cleveland sports. They think they're like cursed, and they do have a really horrendous history. And it seems like only bad things happen to their sports teams.
If Cleveland thought he was good, then they shouldn't have traded a first-round draft pick just to get rid of him.
Right. So, I don't think Cleveland fans, should be, I guess I read one article saying that Anderson Varejao might get his jersey retired in Cleveland and might be like their most popular player in franchise history.
Oh my goodness!
Like that's crazy, right? Anderson freaking Varejao. Like, what was the best?
There was like an 18-month period where he might have been one of the top 2 or 3 centers in the league, but
whoa, really? You think so? Like top 2?
He had a pretty good run for a year or two.
You said for 18 seconds or 18 months?
18 months. It might have felt like 18 seconds.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I knew the fans loved him. I knew he plays with a lot of energy. I knew he had a couple decent years, but
no, he had a couple of really good years. His impact defensively was probably more apparent than anything he did on the offensive end.
Yeah,
but
in like the real world, do you think he's actually going to help Golden State?
No, he's not going to play any minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's why I don't really think so either. So I don't understand what the big fuss is about, man. Besides the fact that he's in Golden State, which very well could play Cleveland, then he's going to get a ring with Golden State. But all right, go ahead. I'm trying to find his stats, but it's taking me. Career stats. All right. So what do you think is in his best year? You give me his points and rebounds.
I'm looking at his stats right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. There was a season a couple years ago. The problem is he's been hurt so often.
Oh God, yeah. Look at these seasons: 25 games, 31 games. Wow, he cannot stay healthy.
A couple of years back when he started the season, he was averaging 14 points and 14 rebounds, 1.5 steals, a half a block, and playing stellar defense. I think that was when he looked like a great candidate, a potential all-star. And then
what year is that?
12-13, and then he got hurt for the remainder of the season. And I think he really hasn't been the same since.
I know he's coming off like an Achilles. I forgot what the other injuries that he's had a
myriad of injuries.
Yeah. But I refute you on your best 2 or 3 centers in the league, but he was a above average player in his prime, whenever that was. But like looking at these stats though, these don't look impressive at all.
No, and he's never been a big stats guy, that's for sure.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting because then I was trying to think, who else like Cleveland's had some decent players. They had Brad Doherty, Mark Price.
I'm so glad that you've interrupted our discussion here about Orlando.
No, come on,
you stopped me mid sentence to bring up Anderson Varejao.
You have to come on. You have to admit that's pretty. Even if it's in the conversation that your franchise's best player is Anderson Varejao, that's something that needs to be discussed on the show. No. How bad is your franchise? That'd be like the Bulls saying.
I think it's pretty clear that LeBron James is their best player in their franchise's history.
Well, all right, but leaving him out. Ricky Davis.
Let's move on. This is
Ricky Davis.
This is one of the most fruitless discussions we've ever had on our show.
All right. Jeez.
Are you?
I think our listeners
are we okay to talk about something relevant, or do you want to talk about mid '80s?
I want these listeners. The Brad Doherty era.
Should we talk to some Craig Elo?
Larry Nance, Elo. That squad was talented, man.
Oh my goodness.
I think we have some Cleveland fans who are happy I brought that up. Anyway, Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Hopefully we've still got between that and Bieber. Hopefully anybody's still listening to the show.
The Biebs, man. All right, go ahead.
All right, Orlando. Orlando made a couple of moves to trade players away, and I think there was some excitement at the trade deadline that with Frye gone, with Tobias Harris, there might be some minutes opening up for either Aaron Gordon and or Hazonia. While there was also some worry about Brandon Jennings and Ersan Ilyasova taking minutes from some of their younger players. Thus far, let's see. They played on Sunday. Did they have a game earlier this week as well?
I think they did too. Yeah, I think they've had 2 games.
Let me share with you what happened on Sunday.
Please do.
So Oladipo played 41 minutes. Evan Fournier played 34 minutes. Aaron Gordon played 30 minutes. Vukovic played 36 minutes. Those were the big minutes guys. And I guess, I don't know if it's fair to say Aaron Gordon was a big minutes guy or not, but he played pretty well. He had 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists, which is nice. He's always been a pretty solid passer. So that is going to be helpful if he gets assists going. Alfred Payton and Brandon Jennings sort of split minutes. Payton played 23. Brandon Jennings played 25. Hazonia isn't getting off the bench yet, and Ilyasova played 18 minutes. So what's your take from that? Are you reading anything into those minutes? Do you think that's kind of how it's going to be going forward? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. And also, so Orlando played on Friday as well, and the minutes were pretty similar to the ones you just read. I mean, even in that game, Brandon Jennings got 24 minutes, and Ersan got 23 minutes. Aaron Gordon seems to be going to play around 30. Vucevic, Oladipo, and Evan Fournier got the big minutes in an overtime game against Dallas on Friday. So, I mean, the first thing whenever we're talking Orlando, you got to say it's Scott Skiles. So Take that with a grain of salt. Nothing's ever going to be in stone. He's writing everything in pencil because he can erase anything and change things, at the drop of a hat or the drop of a pin or whatever phrase you want to say. So, yeah, and he's dropping something. So, I am concerned if I'm an Elfrid Payton owner.
Yes, very concerned, right?
I am concerned, especially now. I mean, now we're getting into the part of the season where I can't afford my guys to have, a week or even 2 games in a week just giving me nothing. So I'm nervous. If I own Payton, am I dropping him yet? Probably not. But if like another week goes by where basically Jennings is playing more minutes than him, I may have to look elsewhere.
I'll give you one player that I would drop Elfrid Payton for.
Go ahead.
Brandon Jennings.
Would you really already?
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, we talked about Brandon Jennings before the trade deadline as a guy who's pretty productive on a per minute basis. And we've seen that so far. In the first game in Orlando, he played 25 minutes. He had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 3-pointers. On Sunday in his second game, another 25 minutes. And I believe he finished the game here. He had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 3-pointers, and 2 steals. We know he can fill up the stat sheet in even 24 minutes a game. He's probably standard league relevant. And then if my guess would be, and it's only a guess at this point, my guess would be that he sort of takes that job from Payton, or at least at the very worst, they split time the rest of the season here.
So this is the interesting thing. So right now, Orlando is 4.5 games back out of the playoffs, and they're 9-10. They're in the 11th place in the East. Now is Brandon Jennings their future point guard?
No, but I don't know that Skiles thinks Payton and Oladipo is a future backcourt either.
Maybe not, but if I'm management, I would be going berserk if they're going to be playing. If Skiles is going to be playing well, then again, they hired.
Skiles thinks he's going to make the playoffs, and that's
what I'm saying. Maybe if he still thinks he has a chance at the playoffs, and I said they're like 4.5 games out, so they still got a small shot. So maybe if he thinks Brandon Jennings gives them the best shot, then okay, then maybe that's the route they want to go. It's just surprising to me because one, it seems like it's going to be a long shot for them to make the playoffs. And 2, Skiles is known for – or Skiles really only wants 3 things out of a player. He wants defense, defense, and defense. That's it. And Brandon Jennings, might be one of the worst – he might be one of the worst, defenders of the point guard position in the league. He's 5'6". He can't defend anyone. So
that's not fair.
He's not a good defender.
I don't know if that's what he looks for from his point guards. I think he expects his point guards to do a little bit more than that. I don't know that Jennings is necessarily the guy that the ideal Skiles guy, but I almost wonder as the veteran there if he's just going to play Jennings to teach Peyton a lesson or something.
Is that the guy you want to teach your young players, Brandon Jennings?
No, meaning Skiles would be teaching Peyton a lesson, being like, if you're not going to do this way, then I'm going to play Jennings over you.
I guess. I mean,
but my point is, if they're going to split time, Jennings is going to be much more fantasy relevant than Peyton is.
And that I agree with. If they're both playing 24 minutes a game, Jennings is a guy you're going to want to own. He's going to be much more prolific on the offensive end. He's going to help you with 3-pointers much more. He's definitely going to help you with assists as well, better than Peyton can. So I mean, maybe you've talked me into it, man. Which is shocking me because both of us said on the last show we did, which was like 2 days ago, we think it's going to be Peyton. Don't worry too much about Jennings, but it's clear he's giving him minutes. Skiles, man, what a mother. Anyway, so I mean, and I'm pretty sure Jennings is going to be available in most leagues.
Yeah, I would think so. Gordon's played fairly well since coming back. He's averaging 11 rebounds and 8.5 points.
He's been doing other things. He had 6 steals 2 days ago.
He had 6 steals in his first game back. So he's had 7 steals since coming back from the All-Star break. He's hit a couple of 3-pointers. So he's doing some interesting things. Scoring is going to probably continue to be a challenge for him.
He's really not,
he's not much of a scorer, that's for sure.
Not at this point. He doesn't really have much of an offensive game.
And it seems like, I guess, Skiles has recommitted to Fournier.
Yeah, sure has.
He's playing a lot of minutes, so if he happens to be on your waiver wire, I would re-pick him up. If he's going to play 34-plus minutes a game, he's worth owning. Don't be afraid to drop him if you need to, but
no, I mean earlier. I mean, Fournier was leading the league in minutes, like the first 30 games of the season or so.
Yeah, and it could go back to that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Skiles.
I wonder if it's just a matter of trying to get shooting on the court, and you know that Jennings can shoot, and you know that Fournier can shoot. So this way they can play Oladipo and they can play Gordon. Maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean
that Gordon and Oladipo with almost anybody else that can't shoot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's hard to make sense of what Skiles is doing, but that's my best theory.
Yeah, Skiles and sense really don't. Those two things in the same sentence are there's not going to be a common occurrence. But basically, I just hate all the Orlando guys.
I thought Aaron Gordon was one of your favorites. No?
Yeah, no. I mean, I like Aaron Gordon, but I think we've talked on previous shows. I mean, his ceiling is a little bit limited. I was hoping he'd get more. His minutes were going to go up with the trade to get rid of Tobias, because I thought then Aaron Gordon was going to be getting 34 minutes a night. He was getting more minutes before they traded Tobias, so his minutes have gone down a little bit. But I still like Gordon. I still think Gordon should be owned in a standard 12-team leagues. I mean, the only thing is with Orlando is it's just on any given night, all these guys could get quote unquote popped. They could get low minutes, and we're coming in a time in the season when that can really hurt you now. So it's trusting the Orlando guys is tough, but you still have to, because they're too talented. Where you have to own them, you have to play them.
Yeah, let's move over to Detroit now. They played a couple of games since the trade deadline with Tobias Harris. Their starting lineup in both games has been Drummond, Jackson, Marcus Morris, Anthony Tolliver, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Pope seems to be sort of getting into the groove since coming back. He played 32 minutes his first game. He's returning from a groin injury, I believe. Yep. Played 32 minutes in his first game, only scored 4 points and 3 rebounds. In the second game, scored 14 points, had 3 rebounds, 2 3-pointers, and 4 steals. So it seems like you should be able to deploy him as usual. Anthony Tolliver has started both games. He had an injury on Sunday, which limited him to only 7 minutes. But even in the first game, he only played 18 minutes, and Tobias Harris played 30 minutes. On Sunday, Tobias Harris played 35 minutes. He looks like he's going to be just fine stats-wise in Detroit. He had 21 points his first game, only 4 rebounds, and not really much else. The second game, he had 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 2 3-pointers. Any other observations here from Detroit from you, Dan?
No, I mean, I'm really liking what I see
Stanley, I've had a lot of questions about Stanley Johnson. I'm not sure why people are still. I guess he had that kind of weak stretch when Contavious Caldwell-Pope was out, where he put up some nice production, but
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't look like he's going to be a starter. He's going to play bit minutes, and he scored, I think, 11 total points since returning from the All-Star break. He has 10 rebounds during that time, but that's not going to get it done. I think I'm just fine moving on from him.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect him to get around the 22 to 24 minute mark the rest of the season, and I think that's not going to make him.
He needs 32 to 34 minutes.
Yeah, he's gonna be right on the fringe, a guy if you want to stream maybe, but I don't think he's going to be relevant in terms of a guy you want to own down the stretch here. I mean, the thing that I've liked in the first two games from Detroit after the All-Star break or after the trade is Tobias Harris. I mean, his usage rate has been great, much higher than it was in Orlando. Clearly, Van Gundy has told him, you get the ball and you shoot. They want him to score. Took 17 shots, second most on the team today in 35 minutes. Only made 6, so I would expect that to go up a little bit. I love the usage rate. I love how he's being he's thrust into the offense, and he's a guy that Van Gundy's going to get a lot of shots to. So also Tobias is going to shoot a lot more threes for Detroit than he was in Orlando. Stan Van loves putting Tobias at that stretch 4, spreading the floor for you got Drummond in the middle. So I think this is going to be a good situation for Tobias Harris owners.
All right, let's move over to Washington and talk a bit about Markieff Morris, who was, I think that was the last deadline deal made right before the trade deadline buzzer. Markieff he did not start in his first game or his second game in Washington. He's only played first game he played 22 minutes, second game he played 20 minutes. He scored a grand total of 11 points. He's grabbed a grand total of 6 rebounds and has shot pretty poorly in both games, below 30% in both games. What's your take on Markieff Morris at this point? Do you think he's just working his way into the rotation in Washington, or is this?
This has been a little tougher for me to figure out. This has been annoying as hell for me. I actually own Markieff in I think several leagues, probably 3 or 4 different leagues. Tobias goes to Detroit. He starts playing 34 minutes immediately and putting up tons of shots. Markieff goes to a team that's a little bit worse and a team who's desperately in need of someone to play over fat, slow Jared freaking Dudley. And for whatever reason, Markieff can barely get 20 minutes. But I will say, I watched the first game. He looked lost out there. So I know Whitman said he wants to get him a practice. But, I mean, come on. I mean, Markieff is so much more talented than chicken bone, chicken leg, gravy juice Dudley. I'm a little surprised and a little worried that Markieff is not already starting or at least playing, 25 plus minutes a game. And the other thing that worried me the most is he's just not getting the ball, not putting up shots in that offense. I thought John Wall would be looking for him, especially those first couple of games, get him some open looks. So I'm not really sure what to make of it. I'm not overly concerned yet, but I am a little concerned, especially because like we mentioned at the top of the show, I have him in one of my leagues with the playoffs starting this week, and I got to lock my lineups in, before tomorrow's games start. So do I want to play Markieff?
If you're locking him in for a week, I don't think you can lock him in. I would put him on the bench. I wouldn't drop him yet, but that's scary enough to me where he's only put up 11 points in 2 games and has barely played 40 total minutes. I wouldn't want to deal with that for an entire week. You don't know where this thing is going,
Yeah.
They made a pretty big commitment to him by trading a first round pick for him, but if it's playoff time in your fantasy league, I think you've got to play more certain guys.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I agree with that. It's just you look at that roster, they're playing guys like Garrett Temple starting and Jared Dudley starting. Nene's always banged up. I mean, come on, like Randy Whitman. I mean, you gotta play Mark. You gotta play your most talented guys. You would think, especially if they're trying to still make the playoffs too, which they have a shot at. So I would still think Markieff is going to be fantasy relevant and the guy you want. I know I've gotten a lot of questions. Do you drop him? I'm still staying, telling guys to hold pat, but it's getting tough. One more week like this, and then we can talk again. But right now, if you can hold on to him. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would try to hold on to him. But if I like what you're talking about, where you're playing in a league where you've got to lock your roster for an entire week, I'm not locking him in. I would put him on the bench. It's almost the best situation for him because then you can see how things play out for a week and decide what to do with him next week. In a daily league, in a daily moves league where you've got to decide each game whether you're going to play him or sit him, that becomes a little bit more difficult, or a roto league. All right, Dan, one of the teams you wanted to talk about for reasons that are beyond me, I guess, is Memphis. And that's probably a little unfair. I mean, Memphis did make some moves. Courtney Lee moved out of town. Jeff Green moved out of town. So there's going to be a shakeup in the rotation there, particularly with Gasol out. Tony Allen's actually been injured, or at least out on Sunday. So they've been playing there's been players getting some playing time in Memphis that haven't seen the court much this season. Are you interested in any of these guys?
I mean, there's something. I mean, so you took a shot at me by saying you don't know why we're talking about Memphis, and then named off like 17 changes in their lineup in the last like 4 days. So
no, it's not that there isn't a shakeup there. It's just that to me,
it's not
I'm
like
not seeing a lot of yeah.
I mean,
PJ Hairston started for Memphis. He played 16 minutes. I don't think that we care much about that.
No.
I'm trying to see what happened the first game after the trade deadline. Looks like Tony Allen was the starter, but he only played 13 minutes. That may have been due to the injury that kept him out of Sunday's game. So, partially because of Tony Allen, we don't totally know what their lineup's going to look like. I think Conley's going to get a ton of minutes, and he has since the All-Star break. He did great in his first game and he struggled a little bit more in his game. He
was atrocious today. So I watched them get smoked by Toronto today, and watching this game.
Sorry, I was reading the wrong column. Yeah, he did struggle.
Yeah, I mean he was a mess. If you were like an alien, you dropped down to earth, and this was one of the first games you watched in NBA basketball. As my dog has just lost a ball under the couch. You would basically think that Memphis is one of the worst teams in the NBA. Like they have almost no talent. Like Zach Randolph at this point in his career, he's their number one option, and that cannot happen if you want to compete in the current NBA. Hold on, you talk among yourself while I try to get this ball under the couch.
And fantasy wise, I think you're being a little hard on Randolph because I think he scored 17 points, grabbed 8 rebounds in both games since. He had only 6 rebounds on Sunday. He had 7 rebounds on Friday, or 8 rebounds on Friday night. I think he's ownable in most standard fantasy leagues. Mike Conley is going to be solid to very good. He did struggle on Sunday, but on Friday night, he had 25 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 3-pointers. So he looks to be a great option. Matt Barnes, I mean, you're going to get – in his first game after the trade deadline, he played 33 minutes. He had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and a 3-pointer, which is pretty good production for Matt Barnes. On Sunday, he had 1 point, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks.
I mean, watching the game today, it looked like last night Barnes and Conley went out and had a really good time together because they just didn't show up today. What
about JaMychal Green? I think that's a guy that is sort of interesting for people to talk about. In the first game where they played Minnesota, he had 9 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks as a starter. He also started on Sunday, but he only played 20 minutes, had 4 points and 6 rebounds. Do you have any sort of read on JaMychal Green?
Yeah, I mean, I've played this bum a lot in DFS, sadly, the last couple of years because he's played at various points in the last couple of years. He's had starting spots. Like you read his stats for the last 2 games. That's exactly what you're going to get out of this guy. Complete inconsistency. So you want to play him in a night in DFS and roll the dice, go ahead. Is he a guy that I think he's worthy to being owned on standard teams? I do not think so. Maybe if you want to stream him some nights, go ahead. But he's a guy that I don't want to go near. I mean, the problem, like kind of as I was saying before my dog interrupted, is that like Randolph, like you said, he definitely should be owned now because he's their go-to option. But just he should be like the 3rd, 4th, 5th best player on an NBA team these days. I mean, they just don't have enough talent. Like Conley and Randolph clearly should be owned. But after that, like where the hell do you go?
Well, and speaking of guys who are over the hill and shouldn't be a primary option anymore, Vince Carter has shown a little bit of life in the last 2 games. The first game against the Timberwolves, he had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 3-pointers, and 2 steals in 26 minutes. Then on Sunday versus Toronto, he played 31 minutes, which has got to be a season high. He had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, and 2 3-pointers. We know that he can put up shots and do some things with the basketball if he's going to get some minutes. So there's a guy to keep an eye on. Mario Chalmers is another one. He's probably the guy I would put some more faith in. Although he hasn't gotten a ton of minutes, as many minutes as I would have expected with Tony Allen out especially. He played 26 minutes in their first game. He only played 18 minutes, 19 minutes on Sunday. He put up fairly good numbers in both games. First game he had 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a 3-pointer. In the second game he had 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals and a 3-pointer.
Yeah, I mean, the only guys who played well for Memphis today were Vince Carter, who played great, but look, that can't last, and they can't be playing him 30 minutes a game. I mean, he's 72 years old. So while that's great, he has looked nice after this nice week and a half off of.
I don't mind streaming him. I'll tell you that. I mean, as
maybe
long as he's 30, 25 to 30 minutes a game, he can still put up some stats. Maybe,
but I'm telling you this, like a guy that I know so you're right, Mario Chalmers, he should be getting more minutes. Like he took 17 minutes or actually 18 minutes and took 15 shots. He's taking like almost like a shot per minute. His usage rate is fantastic. Like we discussed last show, he's a fantasy point per minute monster right now. I expect those minutes to go up. They got to play him because Memphis needs to score. They need to score the ball. So I expect Chalmers to get more minutes. I picked him up in another league today. Another guy who I'm going to start looking at because he looked good today, and I know me and you really are not big fans of him, is Lance Stevenson. Memphis just they need talent on the floor. So Lance Stevenson still has a little talent, and it's a guy that is going to be on my watch list now. Is the crazy Lance Stevenson. He looked good today, man. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
22 minutes might have been the most minutes he's played all year. But just I mean the main thing that stood out for me watching this game is just how bad talent-wise they are right now. It's just they have no talent on that floor.
Well, it's a really interesting situation where they basically meld in the season, but have a very good chance of making the playoffs still, just because of their favorable schedule and the number of games they are up in the standings. But I think that's everybody's preferred opponent for the first round in the Western Conference playoffs.
Oh, dear God. Hell yeah. But I am especially after watching them play, I'm surprised they didn't try to trade Conley or Randolph and just try to.
I think Conley is a Grizzly for life. I think they expect him to stay there. I think they traded everybody that they thought would leave.
Yeah, what's funny about Conley is, like, if you asked me before this year, I would, I think this is somewhat of a prevailing view now, is that he was underrated if you talked about guys last year. Now, after watching him play this whole year in a contract year when he should have been super motivated, his numbers haven't been that great. He really hasn't played that great all year long. Memphis has struggled. He's overrated if you ask me. If I was Memphis, I wouldn't want to pay that guy he's gonna want like maybe not a max. He's gonna want a ton of money.
Yeah, I think he is.
So
he'll probably get a max.
You think he's gonna get like over to 25, 30 mil a year?
It's not gonna be that high for him this year, but I think he'll probably get a max. There's gonna be a lot of cap room this offseason, and I'll bet somebody will offer it to him.
Well, I hope if I'm a Memphis fan, I hope it's not to him, because I don't think he's a max-worthy player at all.
All right, let's jump over to Jeff Green. He has played one game for his new team, the Los Angeles Clippers. Played against the Warriors, who played in a game that ended up being closer than I actually played. They only lost by 3 points. I think they scored the last 13 points, so it wasn't nearly that close. He only played 20 minutes in this game. He had 5 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. What do you think about Jeff Green? Is there any chance you're keeping him at this point, or you think we should just move on?
I mean, he's a guy that's on my watch list, and I'm not. But I'm not.
I don't think he's on a watch. I mean, I don't think he's on many watch lists. I think he's owned the majority of places. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'll pass. I mean,
I mean, I think if you're owning him and you see that number of minutes, it will probably come up, but it seems clear they're not expecting him to come in and play a huge role right away.
I mean,
Even with Blake Griffin out.
Jeff Green is basically like him, and he's similar to Harrison Barnes. I mean, they're very similar players, except Jeff Green might not even get as many minutes as Harrison Barnes these days. So occasionally they're both going to have breakout games, but for the most part, it's going to be like you're going to be disappointed if you own those guys, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to Phoenix. They made a couple of – wait, is it just Markieff that they traded?
Yeah.
So they only made one move at the deadline. I'm sorry.
Oh, quickly, let me tell you. So I don't know if you're watching on ESPN. I think it's Amin Al-Hassan. He was saying like the key – this is how if you want to play for Doc Rivers, there's like 3 keys.
Yeah, I saw this.
You saw that? That was pretty funny, right?
You should just tweet that out probably.
All right, I can do that. But it was funny. Or you can just Google it.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. I think he delivers it well. I
thought so too. I thought it was funny.
All right, Mark. All right, Phoenix. So with Markieff out of the way, Tyson Chandler's been injured, which I don't know if that's a real injury. I guess it is. He's only played a couple of minutes since coming back from the All-Star break. Brandon Knight, we got some news about Brandon Knight. He's projected to return in about 2 weeks. So for all of you Archie Goodwin owners out there, 2 more weeks, and that will probably be a wrap on Archie Goodwin's standard league value as long as Knight is injured. And actually, Dan, I wanted to ask you, do you think Archie Goodwin is fantasy? Is he standard league relevant at this point? Like, is he somebody you should be owning? In the first game back from the All-Star break, in 30 minutes he had 10 points and 4 assists as the starter. And then in the second game, he came off the bench in 24 minutes, had 14 points and 7 rebounds, and not a whole lot else. So what's your take? Do you think? I assume most leagues that are active, Archie Goodwin was picked up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have him anywhere, so I haven't had to make this. That I haven't had to deal with that, on my own teams. But if I did, I mean, I might drop him, quite honestly. Like from what I've seen of Earl Watson, I guess it depends on also who's on the waiver wire and who you can pick up. If there was a guy that I really wanted who had some upside in the waiver wire, I'd probably let Archie go. I mean, what I've seen out of Earl Watson these first 2 games has scared the hell out of me. What's
kind of interesting about Archie Goodwin, not to cut you off, Dan, but so he scores well, which is fun, and he does okay in assists. So the last month or so, he's played 34 minutes per game. He's averaging 16 points and 4.5 assists, which sounds great. And it is good. It's very good to be able to pick that up off the waiver wire. He gets you about 3 rebounds a game, which is solid. And then he does almost nothing else. He doesn't get you even a 3-pointer per game. He gets you just barely a half steal per game. He doesn't block shots. He shoots poorly from the field. So really, I talk a lot about the guys who are 2-category players, and that's usually guys who are good at just points and rebounds.
Zach Randolph.
Zach Randolph is a great example. Taj Gibson's actually –
he's a 1. He's not even good at points.
Yeah, and for a while his two categories were rebounds and blocks, but blocks have sort of dropped off.
Go ahead.
No, I mean Goodwin is basically just a 2-category guy. Like he's only going to help you in points and assists. He's not going to help you anywhere else. It's hard to compete if your point guard isn't getting any steals or 3-pointers. Like you're going to get killed in that matchup, and that's why he hasn't ranked. Like if you've looked at his player rater value or his rankings on our site or Basketball Monster or anywhere, I think most people, including me, have been surprised at how low he's ranked, and that's really what's going on here.
But you also know when it's hard to be ranked. It's hard to be ranked high when you're not getting minutes as well.
And he's gotten plenty of minutes. I mean,
no.
I don't think he necessarily will going forward, which is where you're going with this.
Right.
But even when he was getting 34 minutes a game, that's the production I'm talking about.
That's what I mean. So if that's where he was ranked when he was getting 34 minutes a game, what we've seen out of Earl Watson is absolute chaos. 10 guys on the active roster tonight. Earl Watson played every dang one at least 18 minutes, and basically didn't play anyone over 30 minutes. It was from a fantasy perspective, utter chaos. What are you going to do with that? I mean, no clue what his rotation is going to be like. You know, like you said, it started Ronnie Price. Chris Humphries started. He gets traded and starts instead of Tletovich, instead of John Lure.
He might be one of their best fantasy players if he starts. He had a great first game. He had 18 points, 12 rebounds, a steal, 2 blocks, and 2 3-pointers.
Chris Humphries?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so
Mirza had 25 points that game. I think that you're going to see a lot of inconsistency going forward. I think Brandon Knight, like if for some reason he got dropped and you can put him on your injury reserve, that will be just fine. And I think he'll be their best player. I can't tell you who I think their second best fantasy player will be at this point. Is it going to be John Lore? Is it going to be Alex Len? Is it going to be Tletovich? Is it going to be Booker? Is it going to be Archie Goodwin somehow? Is it going to be Chris Humphries? Is it going to be PJ Tucker? Like, I have absolutely no idea. And I don't know that I want to rely on any of those guys.
The sad thing is if there's the one guy who I think is going to get the most minutes is going to be PJ Tucker. If I had to pick who's going to get the most minutes.
I think you're right, but he's not very he's a low proficiency guy. Like he needs 33, 34, 35 minutes per game. So I think you can make the case that he's the second best fantasy option, but
no. I just mean second most minutes. I don't mean second.
I think he could be the second best fantasy option. I don't know who else would be like. I think you could make the case that he's going to be their seventh best fantasy player and their second best fantasy player. Like it just seems really unclear right now who's going to have value there.
Yeah,
which is why we always end up talking about Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean,
long term, I think Devin Booker is obviously going to be their, a very good fantasy option there. But he's pretty inconsistent as a rookie so far. He's only had 10 points in each of the games since the All-Star break. One game he did pretty well. He got four rebounds and 6 assists. The other game, he got 1 rebound, 1 assist. So
all right, so
there's going to be up and down games there.
All right, so if you have to own Phoenix guys, leaving Brandon Knight out of it, give me your.
I don't think I want to own any of them.
No, I know if you have to though, give me your rankings of 1, 2, 3.
I don't know. That's what I've been saying for the last 2 minutes. I have no idea. I have no idea where this is.
If I had to rank the guys going forward.
Phil Pressey played 28 minutes on Sunday, so. How are you? How are we supposed to make sense of this?
I rank them because we are experts, Mark. That is what we do. I go Alex Len. I gotta think they're gonna find a way to get Tyson Chandler out of there for the rest of the season at some point. Like he can't be playing with these 18-year-old kids. So I go Alex Len 1, Booker 2, and Tletovich 3. That mark it down, Mark. No pun intended. That is my list.
See, I'm not even sure those guys are. They might be. I'm not sure that they're in the top 5 Suns players the rest of the season.
I don't know either. Also, though, I will say this: I also would not be surprised if those guys all are not cut before the season ends as well.
I think you should cut almost every Suns player you have besides Brandon Knight.
But
it's going to be a mess.
It is weird. I mean, and obviously the most important thing for Phoenix is to lose games to get a good lottery pick. So maybe that's why Earl Watson is just going to play everyone, 20.
That's why Sonny Weems got 18 minutes on Sunday. And
don't knock Sonny Weems.
And Phil Pressey got 28 minutes.
How dare you knock Sonny Weems?
What a mess. All right, one last guy I want to mention before we wrap up quickly. Shelvin Mack in Utah. Shelvin Mack. So before the trade deadline, when we went through the players that graded out as very good players on a permanent basis who get moved at the deadline, Mack graded out as one of the best players in that analysis. I didn't bring him up because I didn't think he'd really get moved to a situation where he could have a prominent role and play significant minutes. I thought if they were going to move a point guard, it was going to be Teague or Schroeder, and Mack would stay as the backup. As it turns out, Mack moved to probably the only team that he could earn minutes on at the point guard position, which is Utah. They obviously have a very good, solid lineup everywhere except for point guard, where Exum is out for the season. On Sunday night, Shelvin Mack played 24 minutes. He had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, a 3-pointer, and a block. He put up 11 shots. He shot 6 of 11 from the field. So I'm not saying run out and grab this guy, but if he starts playing 24, 25, maybe 28 minutes a game, I think he could be standard league relevant. He puts up good numbers on a per minute basis, and Utah doesn't have a lot of talent at point guard. So a guy just to keep an eye on.
I think if you want some chicken nuggets, you can pick up Shelvin.
Where are you going with this?
Like, he reminds me of a chicken nugget on the court, and he should not be owned in any formats. Like, he actually did play well tonight, but come on, like,
it's not a surprise. I mean, this is what he puts up on a per minute basis. This is pretty much right in line with his per minute stats. It's just that I didn't think under any situation he would get any playing time. And there's a
reason. There's a reason why you thought that, right? And I don't even think Shelvin Mack's a point guard, even though he's really
not a very talented player. But look, they have Trey Burke and Raul Neto as the other point guard, so he's basically at the perfect place for him. And he could be relevant, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than I've watched him play, and he's a chicken nugget.
For the season, per 36 minutes, he's putting up 16 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal and a half, and a 3-pointer and a half.
Well, how many minutes has he actually averaged on the court?
Oh, not a ton.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, if he's going to get
8 minutes, if he's going to become the starter or the de facto starter, where he plays 28 minutes off the bench.
So if I tell you Max can get 24 minutes the rest of the season, you gonna pick him up?
Maybe in one of my 14-team leagues, I would. If you tell me he's gonna get 28 minutes a game, I would probably pick him up in a 12-team league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any reason why he played so many minutes tonight. Because I mean, they played Portland. Defensive reasons, I can't think of any. I mean, how is Portland winning? And Portland put up 115 points on Utah.
They've been. They just beat Golden State by like 35 points.
I know. It's like I don't understand it because they stink. Besides Lillard, McCollum played really well tonight too. But I mean, Shelvin Mack. Look, I mean, Utah doesn't. They do need a point guard, someone to dribble. So I mean, if Mack's going to be getting, to me, I need Mack to get 28 minutes a game before I would probably consider picking him up. But
that's what I just said.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess weirder things have happened, but. To me, that would be pretty shocking if he's
not a great player. He's not a high upside guy, but I think, there's not a better situation in the league for him to be in. So,
what about Phoenix?
No, thank you. I don't want anybody on Phoenix's team. All right, Dan, I think that wraps it up for us for this Monday edition of the Daily Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to go rate and review the podcast. We haven't mentioned that in a while, but please do it if you haven't had a chance to yet. It helps us out a lot in our rankings. And other than that, all I have to say is go enjoy some basketball between now and our next show on Wednesday. Dan, you got any last words for our listeners?
No, I do not. But Shelvin Mack made me think of Al Jefferson. So I guess I do have one last thing. And I would just say I've gotten a lot of questions regarding Al Jefferson. I don't think he should be owned in standard leagues. You talked about 2 category guys. He's a perfect example, right, of a guy who really gets you points and rebounds, although not even really that many rebounds. So, I just think his minutes are going to be capped. I don't see him really going to play more than 26 to 28 minutes a night, and that's even if he's starting. So, to me, he's not really fantasy relevant, or I don't want him on my teams yet. But I know a lot of other people disagree with me because he did look good today, though. He looked good. He was like 9 for 13 from the floor. And had 18 points and 7 rebounds. So, he's back.
There you go. With that, we will sign off. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Thanks to everybody. Bye.